This episode delves into my fourth tip for beginner lockpickers. Break your habits. I cannot stress this tip enough as it's the one that most consistently holds me back. If you haven't watched the overview of the 5 beginner tips, follow the link in the description and then come back to this video. Hey folks, welcome to Pugs Picks Locks. If you're new here, feel free to click that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you'll always be notified when I release new content like this. And if you like the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, click that like button, leave a question or a comment down below. Did I get something wrong? Is there something I could do better, do differently? Please let me know. I want to learn from all of you to continue to grow my knowledge and skill set and provide you with better and better content. Also, leave a comment if there's a specific topic that you'd like to see covered. Okay, let's start out with the shout out of the week. This week's shout out goes to Adam Harris. As of recording this video, Adam's channel is 9 days old. Amazingly, he already has 90 videos and 54 subscribers. As I've said before, my goal is to help newcomers get off to a successful start in the world of Locksport. Adam is a talented picker and already off to a great start, so let's give him even more of a boost by following the link in the description and get him over that first milestone of 100 subs. Alright, let's dive into this week's video. Like I said, this is the tip that I needed most. I taught myself how to pick locks when I was a kid some 40 years ago. At the time, I didn't know that there's anything other than bottom of the keyway tension and single pin picking with a shallow hook. I always worked from the back of the lock forward, and I had a lot of success with that approach. It was all that I knew, all that I did, and I developed some deeply ingrained habits. I didn't lockpick for some 20 years or so, and when I came back to it and tried to tackle harder locks, I kept frustrating myself. Even today, I automatically reach for this Z-wrench, my favorite tension tool, and this Pagoda hook, which is a shallow hook. I always start with bottom of the keyway tension, and I always start at the back of the lock and work my way forward. These two PacLocks, however, are examples of locks in which I had to consciously remember to break my habits before I could get them open. And while I'm still using the Z-wrench and the Pagoda hook, I had to consciously push myself into top of the keyway tension and to remind myself that starting at the front of the lock is a possibility as well. This PacLock 90A Pro, for instance, it has some nasty bitting. It has on pin 6 a max lift right next to, hidden behind pin 5, which is a 0 lift. And you can see some nasty up and downs there, right? So when I go with bottom of the keyway tension with this lock, I don't have enough room to make that high lift in the back of the lock on pin 6. And even if I go top of the keyway tension, I would start at the back of the lock and on pin 7, 6, and I can make that high lift now. I still have to have the pick of the tip of the pick directly on the tip of the pin in order to make that high lift. But then I would overset some of those 0 lift pins. And I kept frustrating myself over and over and over again until what I found was that if I start at the front of the lock, pin 1 is a 0 lift, pin 2 gave me a little crunchy click, pin 3 gave a click, and then pin 2, that actually feels set. That's good. Pin 2 is a serrated pin, and that's why I came back to it, because it's more of a crunch than click click. So pin 3. But now, because pins 2 and 3 are set, pin 4 being a 0 lift, if I press on it, it feels set because the core is rotated enough to lock it into place and I won't overset it. Same with 5. And then here I am on 6. And I get a click out of 6. And then I go to 7, got a click out of 7. And then I go back to 6 because 6 is a serrated pin. There's another click on it. Get right on top of it. And there's our open salvatory swivel. This other PacLock, which is a PL410 Pro Loto, I believe it's the same core that's in the 90A Pro. I'm pretty sure it's the same core. And you can see that this one also has a super high lift in the back on pin 7, this time hidden behind a 0 lift on pin 6. And so I have the same issue with taking up too much of the keyway with bottom of the keyway tension and trying to make that high lift in back. There's just not enough room in the keyway to pull that off. And I ran into the same problem with having to start at the front of the lock to avoid oversetting with those 0 lift pins between 4, 5, and 6 are 0 lifts. And in order to avoid oversetting those, I had to get the core to turn a little bit by setting pin 1, 2 clicks out of 1, setting pin 2, and I got some core movement there. And then setting pin 3, another little bit of core movement. And so now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 they feel set because the core has turned enough that they're actually those driver pins are sitting above the shear line. So now when I go to pin 7, it's a matter of trying to get that super high lift on pin 7. And I have to get the tip of the pick right on top of the tip of the pin once again. And try to set that pin. And it still tries to be a little bit stubborn for me sometimes. Or I did overset something. I sometimes overset 3 on this lock, so that's a possibility. There we go. I just had to get right on top of the pin for that 0 lift. So both of these locks are examples of locks where I had to truly work and remind myself to switch up my approach, not just do that same procedure that I've done since I was a child. This Yale lock is another example of a lock, this little Yale KIK cylinder. It's a 6-pin KIK cylinder. This is another one that made me, that reminded me that I needed to break my habits. So let's get this KIK cylinder locked up here. So again, had to go top of the keyway. I don't know if you've ever seen the keyway in a Yale lock, but it's a nasty paracentric keyway. And there is just simply no room to go bottom of the keyway and to be able to work the pins. It's just a nasty keyway. So that forced me right off the bat to go top of the keyway. But where I had to really change my habits are with the amount of tension that I use. For this lock, again, I overset it a lot. And I'm not sure what it is. I mean, it has fairly strong springs, and maybe it's because I'm pressing so hard against those springs that I kept oversetting pins unless or maybe the pin chambers or the pins themselves are worn and used and slightly out of spec. Don't know what that is. Anyhow, but whatever the reason is, this lock, like if I go with my normal lighter tension, these pins overset so easily. And my approach to tensioning, if you just watch the tip number 3 video, my approach to tensioning is to use as much tension as the lock asks for. But I still tend to err on the side of lighter tension. I prefer going lighter with the tension than going heavier. But I was working this lock, and again, starting at the back of the lock and working my way through, oversetting pins, and then gradually increasing tension, until I finally frustrated myself to the point where I was like, screw it. And I just cranked the tension. You can see the arc that's forming in the tension wrench here. So I just crank the tension, and I start at the front of the lock, and then I work my way to the back of the lock, one pin at a time, and then work my way back forward. And then work my way to the back of the lock again with that super heavy tension. Now I'm going to ease up on that tension so I can set pin 6. There we go. There's our open salvatory wiggle. So again, having to break my habits and actually having to go with heavy tension to the point where I'm putting 2 fingers on it, and you can see how much it's bending that tension wrench. And it wasn't until I consciously reminded myself to break my habits that I had any success with this little KIK cylinder at all. So we all develop our preferences, and we all have our favorite tools, and it's very clear what my favorite tools are. And my preferences are lighter on the tension, starting at the back of the lock, using bottom of the keyway tension, etc., etc., etc. But the trick is to not let those solidify into deeply ingrained habits the way that I have. If you're a new picker, start out as a clean slate and put as many tools into your toolbox as possible. Learn how to use them. And even if you develop preferences, don't make them habits. And whatever habits you do have, start breaking them now.
Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, remember to drop a like and leave a comment or a question below. If you're new here, subscribe and ring the notification bell for more content like this. Until the next video, happy picking y'all.